Hello, Coven. I am your host, Rachel Pond, and today is going to be a little bit different than a typical episode. Not so much research went into this. Not that there's usually tons, but this episode is just a quick update on my 30-day journaling process. And I have a couple other things that just quickly I want to talk about. So today is going to be a really quick, easy update. Get to know me. I want to share a little bit about my life, and so you can get to know me a little bit more. And then I have 2 super quick recipes, and I have the benefits and magical properties of using the ingredients in these recipes. So today is super laid back. So if today is your first time ever checking out one of my podcasts, one of my episodes, and you want to get a good taste of what this podcast is about, go back and check one of the other episodes I've posted. My most recent one is on self-care magic. Highly recommend that one. I posted that one last week because the previous week I was going through my own little spell of, my own little time, if you will, of depression, and there was some anxiety that was involved in that. And so I started thinking, if I'm going through this, then somebody else might be able to relate to it. And so I wanted to post that out there. And doing that also helps me work through my feelings. So if you are brand new and you've never listened to an episode, go check that one out. Or any of the episodes will do, but that's my most recent. So let's jump right into this. So I have been journaling. The goal was to journal every single day for 30 days straight. And it wasn't anything fancy. It wasn't anything elaborate. I didn't have to fill out a whole page or anything. It was 3 things, right? One thing that I love, one thing I'm grateful for, and one thing that I want to see happen. And I have to admit it, there were several days throughout the 30 days that I skipped, forgot, You ever have those experiences where you walk into a room with a cup, for example, with a drink, you put it down, and then a few minutes later you're like, where's my drink? And then you backtrack yourself, and it turns out, for whatever reason, you put your drink in the fridge or on top of the fridge or something. These 30 days, I've been going through that. So I haven't been perfect, but what I have done, as soon as I noticed that I had missed a day or more, I think the most I've ever missed is 3 days in a row. But as soon as I noticed, that I have not journaled, I looked back and saw the last day that I journaled. So let's say I journaled on the 10th and I went 3 days without journaling. What I would do is journal for those 3 days that I made up. Now that might not be everyone. Some people might be like, okay, so I, for whatever reason, missed 3 days. So just pick up the day that you're actually in. So just forget about doing that. But I wanted to make sure that I had written something for each day in this journal. So that's my way that I have found that works for me, but that might not be for everybody. And today, when I journaled this morning, I found that I have gotten to a point in my journaling where I'm not just writing that I love my hair, or I'm grateful for my friends. I'm just not writing one-worded things. I'm going into a little bit more detail. And that was what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to get to a point where when I write down, it's not just, I love my family, or I love insert. I want it to be more elaborate, more detailed. So, It's still a work in progress. Like I said, during the 30 days, I had days that I just blanked and just forgot or thought that I did, and it turned out I didn't. So it's still a work in progress, but I'm proud of the progress that I've made. And if you guys start, if you decide to pick this habit up and just do like a 3-minute journal, one thing that you love, one thing you're grateful for, and one thing that you want to see happen in your life, let me know. Message me on Instagram, or take a photo of you journaling and then tag me on Instagram. You can do that by tagging me at That New Witch. That's me on Instagram, and that's also me on all platforms. So I have decided that starting today, I am going to start incorporating meditation. So I'm slowly, as each month goes on, I'm going to give myself 30 days for meditation. And then at that time, I will have been doing journaling for 2 months and meditation for 1 month. Because today is 1 month of journaling. So, and that's my plan. Each month add on something else that I want to incorporate into my practice, but I am not good at, or I tend to just overlook or forget. So meditation is the new thing I'm adding in. And my plan is to do it every night before bed, because I feel like if I try to do it in the morning, I'm just going to stop doing it, because especially during the week, if you guys are anything like me and you're constantly on the go during the week, especially like if I have to go and meet a client somewhere, or I have a neighbor. I actually have 2 neighbors. They're older people. One's 65 and one is somewhere in their 70s, older 70s. And it's hard for them to get around and do things. So I've offered to help both of them once a week clean their home. And so that's just one of the things I have going on. But it just seems like there's always something that's drawing me out of my home. There's always something I've got to do in the morning. So, and it might just be that way because I'm a morning person. So I find that if I do it before bed, I'm already laying in bed, 9 times out of 10 before I go to bed, I've got Netflix or something on. So I was thinking, instead of doing that, how about just laying in the comfort of my bed and just putting on some relaxing music and getting myself into a meditation state of mind and body. And then from there, just drifting off to sleep. So that's my plan. Fingers crossed it works out that way. I'm sure it's not going to be perfectly that way, because as I have discussed with the journaling, I'm sticking to it, but it didn't go exactly as planned. So the next thing I want to talk about is this totally insane dream that I had. And it was weird because I knew I was in a dream, and it didn't feel real. It felt, I don't know how else to describe. Dreams in general are weird. But it was it didn't feel realistic, but it didn't feel like a cartoon. It felt somewhere in the middle. And the dream was me and my siblings, we all got kidnapped. And that's the weird thing, obviously, I come from a very big family, 9 kids, so obviously, big age bracket. But in the dream, we were all young kids, all 9 of us. And this guy, I couldn't identify him, but this guy, took us all. And so pretty much kidnapped us. And where I was about to wake up from the dream, one of my younger brothers, he was being attacked by this guy. And there was a woman that was peeking through the door crack, watching him attack my brother. And she was telling me I couldn't go and save my brother. And it just really shook me to the core. I woke up all anxious and just, I don't know. I mean, if any of you have siblings, I'm sure if you had dreams about these sort of things happening, it would shake you to your core as well. And I looked it up. I looked up on Google, what does it mean in a dream when somebody when you're like observing somebody being attacked and there's nothing you can do about it. It said that it's your subconscious coming to the forefront in your dreams, letting you know that you are, it's the things you can't control in your life that are coming to the forefront, and it's your body's way of like releasing all this anxiousness and anger or frustration, however you want to describe it, that you're like, why can't I have control over this, in my life, insert whatever that may be, and because everyone's got things in their life that they have no control over, and I started thinking, I was like, well, what is it in my life that I am, suppressing, that I'm like upset that I have no control over? And I realized it's the fact that everyone thinks I can do everything. And I don't want that to sound like I'm blaming people. I advertise myself as, if you need help, if you need anything, let me know. Like when you meet me, if you meet me in person, I'm that way. Like I'm somebody you want to have in your corner, not against you. Very Leo thing. We are your best friend, but if you cross us, especially if you cross somebody that is near and dear to us, you don't want that. And yesterday, I had several neighbors being like, well, okay, this kind of leads into my next topic. Sort of. This kind of touches on my next topic about getting to know me. But, so I live, in Connecticut. I live in subsidized housing. I've had seizures since I was roughly 9 months old. And, that's why I live in subsidized housing. Because of the seizures, I qualify for that. All my neighbors that I live around, the majority of them are seniors. There's, I think, like 5 guys that are just like about 15 years older than me. So they're like in their 50s or so, just about. So I am the youngest person at 36. I am the youngest person in this particular complex that I live in. But my point of bringing that up is because majority of, all my neighbors are one way or another older than me. I want to be there for them. A lot of them are widows, or they just never married and they don't have grandkids. They don't have any family at all. So I want to be there for them. With that being said, I need to, and this goes back to last week's episode, the self-care, I need to be able to say no and not feel bad. And so yesterday, where I live, we had a delivery from the food bank. Food, they dropped off milk and meat and cheeses and fruits and vegetables. And so I already promised one of my neighbors that I would help her, and so as I'm loading up my cart with all the stuff to go to her, one of my neighbors were like, can you come and can you help us? We're trying to help this other person. And I just felt so overwhelmed. I'm like, I'm only one person. I'm not cloned. How am I supposed to help everybody? And this happened 2 weeks prior when we had a delivery. And so I explained. I said, I'm busy. I'm helping this person. And do you think you'll be able to find somebody else to help you? Or can you wait? And they're like, oh, no, that's fine. Just asking. But I walked away after I got my stuff, after I was done helping that particular neighbor and I got my stuff, I was like, I can't go back out there. I need to just calm down. I felt so overwhelmed. So I think that dream, going back to the dream, I think that dream was just bringing to the forefront the way I felt after being bombarded with like multiple neighbors. I think it was like 7 different people that asked me, can you help me with this? And they saw me working with a different neighbor. And I just felt like, I felt horrible saying, I can't help you this minute, but if you can wait. So I feel like the dream is like, it's out of my control that people just constantly ask me. But by the same token, I feel like it is within my control because I need to start telling people, I'm not always available to help. If I can, I'm more than happy to. And then when I say that to people, not walking away and feeling bad, like I wasn't a good person, So that's what I feel like that dream was, but it was insane. It just, I don't know, like I was dreaming, and then as the dream was happening, I was like, is this really a dream, or is this something I should be more concerned about? And then as the dream went on, I was like, okay, this is a dream, but this is, this is like, what's the word I'm looking for? This is a very emotional thing to dream about. So yeah, and these topics are in no particular order, so it might sound a little weird jumping, because like the next one is talking about the podcast. I should have ordered these a little bit better, but organize the topics a little bit better. But starting today, I will just be posting on Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock. I'm taking away the Wednesday episode for the foreseeable future. I mean, who knows? Maybe sometime down the road I might add it back or add a different day. And my plan behind that is that way I'll have a whole 6 days to do research on the topic, and I won't feel so stressed about making sure there's an episode, because ideally I would like to post the episode, record the episode and set it to post itself Friday morning, and so then Saturday, I can have it just upload itself, and then I just post, because I've started posting the episodes over to YouTube, so come Saturday, that's all I'll have to do is just post it there. And instead of a podcast on Wednesdays, what I want to start doing is going live on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I've got 2 videos over on my TikTok, but I'm more of an observer over on TikTok, but I'm trying to get out there and let myself be known on all social media platforms. Let's see here. So, like I said, all these topics, they're out of order. But the next one is get to know me. So I started that a little bit when I was talking about where I live right now. I'm in Connecticut. I live in subsidized housing. I've had seizures since I was 9 months old. Thank goodness. They are under control. Haven't had a breakthrough seizure in at least 10 years, maybe a little longer. But that's why I live in subsidized housing. Now, the main reason, I say that as just like a quick answer, but this is what I wanted to get into, because I've noticed in previous episodes, I have touched on topics about my childhood. I've touched on that my father was not a good person at all. My mom wasn't that great of a person either, but at least I can say now, I can see that she's in a way she's trying to be a better person, but it's difficult for her. But at least I can see effort, where with my father, everything was always everyone else's fault. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want you guys to feel like you really know me. I want you to feel like you really know me. And so when I start talking about my childhood and then I sound like I'm shutting down or closing, I don't want my podcast to turn into me whining about my childhood. I want to bring it up when it's something that can relate. You can, when I use the example of my childhood, you'd be like, oh, I can see how this correlates. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an insight. There's the word I'm looking for. Insight to my childhood. I was born into a ultra religious Christian family, and that really it played out right when I had my first seizure. I mean, it was part of my whole entire life, but I can give you an example right from there. So when I had my first seizure, it went on for about a half hour at home, and my father wouldn't let my mother call the ambulance, wouldn't let her call 911. He said, all we need to do is sit and pray, and God will take care of it. And I'm sure you can hear that disdain in my voice when I say God. I really have an issue with that word. Because of my upbringing. So, and I grew up hearing these stories of my seizures and everything. And so I started feeling inadequate. I felt like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't the way I was supposed to be. I was different. Now, because of the seizures, my parents didn't bother in educating me. They homeschooled all my siblings, and I put that in quotations. You can't see me, but putting it in quotations, because my parents, they went to homeschooling conventions, and they would buy the curriculum and stuff, but if it wasn't for my older sister, we would not have had any form of education. And my sister really didn't bother doing anything with me because my parents told her I couldn't learn. Because when I had my first seizure, the doctors told my parents, because it went on for so long, it was a couple hours long, believe it or not, my first seizure at 9 months. And the doctors told my parents that I would not be capable of learning. I most likely, they said, would need supervision my whole life, need somebody to take care of me, like a home health aide sort of thing. And so growing up, I was like the embarrassment, at least for my mother. I think my dad was a little bit embarrassed, but his way of dealing with it was being in control. Like, he wanted to be in control of going to the doctor. He wanted to be the one to do that. Like, that was his way of coping with it. And then when he got mad, he would use it against me. So I'm saying all of this so you kind of understand where I'm coming from with my episodes. If I mention my parents and then I kind of seem, shut down. This is difficult for me to talk about, but I want you to feel like you know me. I'm going to keep saying that. I don't want it to sound like I'm whining about anything. So that was my childhood, very much not being educated, being told that, my mother in particular, when I was growing up, when I was young, she would say that she wished she didn't have me, that I was an embarrassment. Of course, I bring these things up to her now, and she says she doesn't remember this. But these are things that have stuck with me, and these are things I've had to work through. And in my practice, I would not say that I have accomplished it, or I wouldn't be struggling to talk about these topics, but I am better off than I was when I left my parents' home. My father did say once that he wished that everyone's life would be better if I killed myself. And that, I think, has stuck with me more than the mean and nasty things my mother would have said. Because I expected that from my mom. My mom said mean things all the time. But when my dad said it, it just hit me on a whole different level. And so fast forward, my childhood and my teenage years, into my 20s, I left my dad's home. My parents got divorced, and I left my dad's home. Technically, he kicked me out, but, tomatoes. I mean, when it came to that, when he kicked me out, in the moment, I didn't know what to do. Because like I said, they didn't educate me. I went to public school for 3 years, but that was only because I begged them. They did not want to send me to public school because I think they knew they were going to get caught. Now, of course, at this time, I was in Georgia. So, the South is very Bible Belt, and, the father knows best, the head of the house, parents are in control. So even if the school I had gone to, even if they had shown that they picked up an inkling that I hadn't been educated properly, they wouldn't have said anything, because in the Bible, the man of the house can do no wrong. And like I said, the South, it's very Bible Belt. So I did. I graduated with a special ed diploma, and let's see. So then 4 years later, I left my parents' house, still with no real education, and I went to Miami, lived there for about 3 months with a woman that I had never met in person, talked to her 3 times over the phone. The Epilepsy Foundation in Miami set me up with her. And then when that ran its course, when that did not work out, I moved here to Connecticut, and I lived with my grandparents for several months. And then I moved to Guilford, and then I moved back here to Brantford, where I am now. And all of that has just, don't get me wrong. They were horrible situations. I wouldn't have wished them on anybody. But without each of those situations happening, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be able to vocalize this at all. So, and that's a big reason why I wanted to do this podcast, because I knew topics from my childhood were going to come up when talking about my practice and the work I have done personally with my practice to recover from those traumas. And I'm sure there are people out there that can relate or empathize, or I know somebody who went through that, or I went through something similar. So I want to put it out there so you feel like you know me a little bit better, and you understand why when I'm talking about my parents in an episode, even just for a quick second, and I feel and I sound like I'm kind of shutting down, I'm fighting that part inside of me that's being you're just being whiny. Why are you bringing this up? And in real life, I'm trying to shed light and let you know how that brought me to where I am now, if any of that makes sense. So that's me. I thought that was going to be a quicker overview, but yeah. So that's my upbringing and how I came to being back into Connecticut. I was born in Connecticut. There's more, but not so much. After coming to Connecticut, I went to Gateway because My grandmother, when I lived with my grandparents, my grandmother set me up with a private tutor. I think we met like one day a week, sometimes twice a week. And we worked on the schooling part, the reading, the writing, the math to this day I'm horrible at. But reading, and that's the other thing. If you're listening to an episode and I am like sounding out a word as I say it, that's just my that's how I've learned to cope to read. Because even though I have gotten better at my reading, clearly it's not 100%, because you can look back at all my episodes and I'm spelling at least one word because I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. So that's a little bit about me and how I got to where I am now. Well, that was kind of heavy stuff, my childhood and stuff. I don't want to leave you guys on such a heavy note. So yesterday, I mentioned that I got a delivery of foods, and I got 2 bags of green apples in that food delivery. And so I was like, what am I going to do with all these apples? I mean, 2 huge bags. What am I going to do? So I took 1 bag and I just cut them all up super, super thin. I sprinkled cinnamon all over. I mixed the apples up, and then I put them on a bake sheet. I put them in the oven for about 3 hours, all the way down on the lowest level in the oven, which 150. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, or in Celsius. I mean Celsius. Let me see if my oven has that on there. Let's see here. No, I'm not sure what, my oven doesn't have that, but I'm obviously in the US, so, we don't go by Celsius, but, so 150, and, like I said, I just let the apples be in there, and they got really crispy, like apple chips, and, it was really good, really delicious, but there were apples left over that had cinnamon, and so this morning, I put them in the blender with homemade peanut butter and cacao powder, and I put some water in there, and I blended it up, and it was like a chocolate smoothie. It was so good. Chocolate smoothie with cinnamon. That's what it tasted like. And so I was like, well, everything has a magical property. I haven't come across one thing that doesn't have some form of magical property. So I was like, okay, let's look up all these, different properties of these foods that I just consumed, and talk about it in the podcast, a way to end, because I knew I was going to mention my childhood, and I didn't want to, just in case I ended on that, I didn't want to leave you guys with like all that just bearing down on you. So I found that cinnamon is used for good luck, protection, prosperity, energy, adding energy to a spell, healing, success, spirituality, crystal, sunstone. So I guess sunstone is a particular stone, and you can use cinnamon to like charge it. Let's see. Zodiac, cinnamon's, I didn't know cinnamon had a zodiac, is Aries, planet. It's ruled by by Sun and Mars, and its element is fire, and it is a masculine energy, or gender, it says here. Let's see. Other fun things that you can, apples. Like I said, I put the cinnamon on the apples, and these were just leftovers from the apple chips. So you can use apple for getting rid of scratches on furniture, getting gum out of hair, hiding medicine. So what they mean by that is if you're giving medicine to a child, you know how kids can be kind of fussy about certain tastes or textures. If you mix it with peanut butter, it masks the taste. You can also use apples in place of cheese when you're trying to get rid of mice that might be in your home. You can use apple as a shaving cream. These are all just a list of things I found. It's not showing like an actual like recipe to make your own shaving cream, but I think that's something I would look into. That's pretty cool. You can use apple as a face mask. You can also use it to get rid of insects that might be in your home. You can use apple as a conditioner for your hair. You can use it for stopping squeaky doors. To remove stickers. Again, there's no recipe to how to make. I'm assuming you make like a paste or something like that. It's just giving me a list. Google just gave me a list. So you can use apples to get rid of the squeak in the door and remove stickers that might be stuck on to the wall or something. You can use it as a leather cleanser. You can use it as a shoe polish, to cleanse windows and shutters. So there's many different things you can use apple for there. And then I put in peanut butter. So I typed in magical properties of peanut butter, and it just came up with magical properties for nuts, just in general. So healing, fertility, empowerment, money, prosperity, good luck, career and employment spells, love spells, and protection. So that was something I didn't know about peanuts or nuts in general until now. Let's see here. Oh, and one more thing about apples that I just thought was fun and random, because I know we're coming close upon Samhain. You can take apples, as many as you'd like, and put them on your altar as a gift. To just put them on your altar for Samhain as like a gift to whoever your altar is for. Mine in particular is for my ancestors, and I know my grandfather, he loved red delicious apples, which is also coincidentally my favorite apple. So I think that's everything I had written down for today's topic. Like I said, I know it's not a traditional episode for me, but I really wanted, like I've stated, I just really wanted to put myself out there and make it so that you guys could get to know me and just see what's going on with me on a more casual level. Now, next Saturday, this coming Saturday, so October 31st, my episode will be about spooky movies that I like to watch in the month of October. And who am I kidding? I watch them all year whenever I, see fit. But I believe there will be 10 movies. And just so you guys get an idea of the movies, one of them is going to be Practical Magic. I know Practical Magic isn't spooky, but it's one of my favorite Halloween movies. One of my favorite spooky movies that I will be discussing is 1 Hour Photo with Robert Williams. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I think I bought my copy off eBay for like $4. I'm not sure if any TV platforms like Netflix or anything, I'm not sure if any platforms like that are streaming it right now, but I'm sure you can find it somewhere. So those are two of the movies I will be discussing on Saturday. And if you guys enjoyed this episode and you would like to follow me, please do so. You can find me over on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at That New Witch. You can also find me on TikTok under that name. So, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok, all under That New Witch. Till next time, Coven.